good, but it's not. Oh, I shouldn't talk that way.
Yeah. So we're on now. We're on.
Sanjay, we're on. This is so exciting.
Sanjay, have you written a book?
Say that again.
Have you written a book? Oh, there they are, all behind you.
This is like subtle, much my subtle way of advertising.
You couldn't sell them, hey? That's a little sad. Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome as you're joining us.
Well, good morning. Oh yeah, I forgot.
Good morning.
Oh, I'm in good morning. Yes, good afternoon for many of you. I forgot. We're kind of bridging.
Good evening for some. We have people in Europe and other parts of the world as well.
Right.
Happy Thursday, perhaps, for some of you.
And it was Richard's birthday, and he's old enough that he'll have to take a nap right after this. So,
First of all, I want to thank everyone who sent me happy birthday. I really appreciate that, especially the ones who wished me a happy 85th birthday. I will save those, and if email is a thing in 40 years, I'll go back on my 85th birthday.
40 years? Oh, that's
again.
wishful thinking.
Yeah.
I think that was my bad. I think I may have suggested you were 85 years old. I thought you were darn good for 85 there, buddy.
Yeah, and I may have suggested the emails, but you know what?
I loved that. No, I love getting emails.
85 with someone's IQ, but that's, neither here nor there.
Hey, welcome everyone. I believe, are at the top of the hour. We are going to start our 45 minutes. Welcome, everybody.
No, we got 2 minutes, my friend.
He's so excited.
What?
Or 1 minute. We got 1 minute because there's some people who are like right on time.
Let's just stare silently into each other's eyes.
No. Bob Friedman wants to know if we'll still be out quarantining in 40 years. Chances are.
One can only hope.
Will we still be doing every other Wednesday in 40 years?
That's right.
Hey, Sanjay, I can't hear you.
And I'll be 85. So Bob had only sent that to the panelists. If you are sending something in the chat, feel free to share it with everyone. If you just want it sent to the panelists, absolutely you can do that too. But just
yes, and while we're waiting to start here, maybe put in the chat box how you're doing today on a scale of 1 to 10. Decimal points are always welcome as normal.
When is Canada opening back up to Americans? Great question, Brian.
Well, I just read an email that it's semi-opening. They're allowing some restrictions to be lifted this week, although it's been extended the end of October. But some people.
A little bit. Hey, we're going to get started now, ladies.
Wait, you asked a question. Look how good people are.
I know. Yeah. I know. It's amazing. They're very well trained here at every other Wednesday. Hey, everybody. Good morning.
Talk about engaged teams at a conference today. All right.
All right. Sorry, Michael.
Go back.
Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, October 7th. Welcome to another Every Other Wednesday. My name is Michael Kerr. I am the cat herder for today, coming to you from beautiful, spectacular Canmore, Alberta in the Canadian Rockies. With me, as always, is the Culture Club, which we are calling ourselves until Boy George sues us. We've got Richard Hadden out of my favorite ville, Jacksonville, Florida. We've got Jeff Tobe out of my favorite burg, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and Sunjay Nath out of my favorite Toronto, Ontario, Canada. We've got 2 Canadians, 2 Americans.
What?
Well, you've got 3 Canadians, 2 people in the United States right now. Anyways, welcome to another Culture Club. It is, as I said, Wednesday, October 7th, which means, of course, it is official Random Acts of Poetry Day, You Matter to Me Day, and let me just say, Richard, you matter to me, Personal Safety Day, and Chocolate Covered Pretzel Day. So there you go. And as always, and this is something you should be doing, we're talking about bridging the gap, connecting remote virtual employees with your home team. So you're doing lots of these video meetings. So I urge you to do a drinking game with every one of your virtual meetings. Now, hopefully you're not into the hard stuff yet, but if you have coffee, tea, or water, the way it works is every time one of the panelists says one of these words, hybrid, the new normal, or in honor of Chocolate Covered Pretzel Day, pretzel, you have to take an exaggerated drink from whatever it is you're sipping at home. It is just that simple. So let's dive in, everybody. Last time we met 2 weeks ago, we were talking about the all-important topic of how to give employees a voice. And this certainly, everything ties together, all our topics, right? And by the way, we have recordings of all our programs. You can go to our website, to find the recordings. This will be recorded as well. And as we go, the brilliant, the very nice smelling Richard Hadden will be checking the chat box for your questions and comments. So we will
Did
get
you just say nice smelling?
I did.
I
He is nice.
Virtually,
They're all nice
virtually
smelling.
nice.
We can't verify this right now. That's why it's safe to say. So gentlemen, I want to dive in to this topic of bridging the gap between what I've been calling the homers and the officers, the people still working from home.
The opposite of homers, shouldn't it be Flanders?
Shouldn't it be what?
Flanders, the homers and the Flanders.
The Flanders?
Simpsons reference, forget it, move along.
Okay, yeah, that was excellent, Sanjay. Thank you for that. And look, you've made me all blurry again. So all sorts of stats talking about the percentage of people that are working out of their homes and how this will continue perhaps for a long time, maybe even indefinitely for many employers. So let me ask this of the panelists. Is this a good thing? Is this trend of people working more from home, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it just a thing that we need to learn to live with?
I'm going to jump in and say it's a thing.
Yeah.
I think it's both good and bad. I think that, and one thing to consider is, I think I read I read somewhere that Upwork, you're all familiar with Upwork in Canada as well. Yeah, Upwork has an international network of freelancers. They were saying that freelancing and people staying home and doing freelancing was way up before COVID. So, it was a trend anyway. But the bad part, there's two bad parts, if I can just say quickly. I think one, there's been a lot written about mental health and anxiety and stress based on working remotely. I think that, we have to stay connected. I'm fortunate, and guys, just close your ears for a second, but I got these three guys as part of my network, and that really has made a huge difference having to stay home recently. But the other thing is that a separate poll I just have to share, I read on WebMD, 900 people responded that they've gained weight. Half of the men who responded and about a third of the women who responded said they've gained weight. I know we call it the COVID-19 or the COVID-15, so that's a downside.
Wow.
Well, I agree with Jeff. I think it is a thing. I think it's here to stay. The way I put it is, the rabbit is out of the hat on work from home, because people thought they might like it, and now they've experienced it, and many do like it. Some don't, but at least now they've experienced it. And I can all day long say, well, it's going to hurt the spirit of the hive. It's going to affect your culture. It's going to affect teamwork and all that kind of thing. And I believe that it is. But I also think that there are people who are going to say, hey, I'm willing to forego that for the benefits of staying at home. And so I just think it means that leaders are going to have to recognize it's a new part of the way we work. Even if when COVID is not a thing anymore, we don't even have to consider it. People are going to say, this work, I can be more productive. I can do this. So I don't think most organizations are probably not going back to 100% the way it was February 1st.
Yeah. Sanjay, what do you think? Sanjay, what are some of the other positives of this, of people being able to work at home?
Here's the thing, right? It depends on which side of the coin you're on and what business you're in. Like if you're in HVAC right now, you're loving life, because everyone's got to upgrade their ventilation systems and all that sort of thing. But if you're in a position where it requires people to gather, it really sucks. Chatting with a buddy of mine who's in a major law firm, and he goes, oh man, for us, it's business as usual. We all work from home. We get to do everything in our underwear, and it's phenomenal. And he goes, and we're saving it's a big firm. He goes, we're saving $10 million a month in rent. So when this thing's done, there's no way they're going to go back to that. And I was like, well, that's cool from your perspective, but here's the problem. There's the landlord that was charging $10 million a month. And with that $10 million, he was paying employees to clean those places. And those employees were going to the coffee shops that were at those spots. So you have this entire ripple effect that, there's going to be the haves and the have-nots. For some of the people, this is fantastic. This is amazing. This is the best thing since sliced bread. And other people are trying to catch their breath and treading water, praying that it's going to end. The reality, I think, is this, overall, people are pretty sick of not seeing each other. They want to gather. They want to get together. However, do I think we're going back to where we were pre-COVID levels? No. But I definitely see that once we're able to, we will see that shift.
Yeah, let me share an example from just 2 weeks ago. I was speaking at an organization small group, 50 people in a room that could have held 400. Everybody was wearing masks and we were socially distanced and all that. So no travel shaming here. And it was in Iowa, and no, it was in Indiana. And it's a hospital, a healthcare company. They have the hospital, but they also have assisted living and lots of clinics. So there were people who had not seen each other, and they also have people working from home who can. This was the first time these people had met. It was about 50, 60 people in this huge room. And one guy stood up, and they were just, we were people just introducing and talking all that. And this guy this is a, big, burly, 50 some odd year guy. And he really got emotional. He said, "This is the first time I have seen you people in 7 months." He said, "I was not prepared for what a big deal it was going to feel like." So I think people are saying, yeah, we're cool. But then when they see how much they do miss that social interaction, it makes a difference.
By the way, I'm in no hurry to see you guys in person, so just so you know.
But we're so nice smelling, Jeff. I think, as Jeff said, there's benefits and there's negatives, right? And there's all sorts of side issues around this. I mean, it's good for the environment to have less people commuting into work, right? We're seeing stories of young people moving out of very expensive areas to live because now they have that choice, right? They have that option where they can work from home in a much less expensive city or town or out in the country. So that's kind of cool, right? Maybe it's going to help companies attract employees when they have that flexibility to be able to work at home. So there's lots of positives, but there's lots of negatives. I know there was a Globe and Mail survey this weekend in our national newspaper in Canada here that said 75% of employees in this survey were really anxious to get back to work, to connecting with people. Let's launch a poll, shall we? Yeah. I'm going to launch this poll. So, ladies and gentlemen, please answer our first poll question. What percentage of your company is currently working remotely? Just give us a sense. We've got a number of different ranges there, and we can see the numbers coming in. This is very exciting. This is very exciting.
Wow.
You guys are voting very fast. This is good.
Those numbers are a little different than what I would have expected already.
This is much faster than what's going to happen on November 3rd.
Yeah.
All right. We're coming in. 86% have voted. This is so exciting.
I love this.
69 of 79 and going once, going twice. So let's end the poll. Let's share the results. Here's
that
what we
surprises me.
Wow.
Those numbers surprise me.
What surprises you, Richard?
That there's such a high number in the 76 to 99% range.
But the other question that would have to be asked is how many of you who voted are one-person operations, right? But we'll set that aside. So.
Yeah,
it is quite a range. It is surprising. In this same Globe and Mail study, they suggested that even at the I found this hard to believe, at the height of the pandemic, they said only 30% of employees were working from home. And that seems shocking to me. Yeah. Let's do another poll. Let's do our second poll.
Things like that. But yeah, okay.
Yeah, but
second poll.
I saw
second poll.
No, sorry.
Here we go. So this is for you individually. Are you currently working pretty much all the time remotely, or all the time working at home? Pretty much all the time, part of the time, or none of the time? Give us a sense.
I want you to know, Mike, that saying pretty much is really Canadian. Like
I wrote the poll.
Richard wrote the poll.
Good for you. Because usually it's most of the time, part of the time.
Is that a Canadianism? Pretty much.
I don't know.
It pretty much is, I think. All right, let's end the polling. Let's share the results.
You're bilingual, Jeff. You tell us.
Pretty much all the time, 55% and part of the time. So 28% not at all. That's interesting. So almost a third are still working, and we've got one more.
Can I just say, somebody mentioned it, that we have a lot of people who follow us who are in government, and I think a lot of them, are required to go in or whatever. So it depends who you work for. That makes a big difference as well.
For sure. It depends on your job, on your profession. Again, in that same Globe and Mail study, they suggested that 40% of all jobs could be done remotely out of people's homes.
Yeah.
So here we go. We have got people are getting polling fatigue now. They're not answering as quickly as before. It's election burnout.
Giving them permission. You keep talking and not letting them think and read. I am leading a team who's working entirely remotely. Some of whom are working remotely, others on site, hybrid model. Oh, I said hybrid model. I don't see anyone drinking. None of whom are working remotely.
Oh, I do this.
All right, and here are the results, ladies and gentlemen. 19% of you are leading a team that's working entirely remotely. Some are working remotely, others on site, so a hybrid model, drink. None who are working remotely, and I'm not currently leading a team at all, 40% of you. All right, thank you.
I'd like to say, Brian Walker, just mentioning it in chat does not qualify for people to drink. So.
Right. Yeah. Speaking of chat, Michael, if you want to make a point or two about the polls, I want to cover some of the chats that have been generated.
No, let's talk about what's going on in the chat.
Okay. Yeah. Gosh. Let's see. Somebody got Sanjay's joke, but and we were talking about the gaining weight. People call it the COVID cushion. Somebody was saying, Yvette says, definitely missing my daily work. I have to make a real effort to reach out and connect with others. And that's exactly the point. Whether you're a leader, whether you're a coworker, you have to make a special effort to do that. It doesn't just happen. Somebody calls it the COVID handles. Let's see, we're a government agency, essential services that continue to be provided. Some staff don't have to be at home.
Richard, in the essence of time, people can read that and
yeah. I'm just looking for things that are interesting. I mean, particularly interesting. It's all interesting.
It's all interesting, folks. Okay, panelists, let me ask you this question. Do we need to be concerned, is one of the issues with this new hybrid model, people potentially getting resentful or jealous of the other team. And I think that works on both equations. I've had managers talk to me about this, right? The people having to go in the office, some of them are resentful because they prefer to be home and they're resentful of the people working at home and vice versa. But because of the nature of the work or for whatever reasons, they're stuck in those different camps. So is that, do you think, a concern? And what can be done from a cultural point of view, from a leadership point of view, to minimize those jealousies and resentments from arising? Let's start with Sunjay.
Personality transplant. I found that there are certain people that no matter what they get, the grass is always greener, right? There are people who, they're working remotely. I want to work remotely. Oh, they're going in. I want to go in. I think it's less a function of specific job and more the title. It's the same thing with someone who wants a promotion or who wants to work in a different area or department. If you have the skill set and you work harder, you can get there. So I don't, I'm not a fan of, oh yeah, it's unfair to these people, it's unfair to those people. If you are a valuable asset, if you provide tremendous value, your organization will look to please you. Every time I've worked with a large organization, they say this, that when we see talent, we scoop it up, regardless of whether or not we need it. We know eventually we will. So if it's a slow time, we will bring someone on, even if they're just twiddling their thumbs for 2 months, because we know a new project's coming on and they're going to be a huge help. So no, I don't think it's about being a Homer or being a Flanders or being on site. It has to do with, can you create value for your team? And if so, there is always a spot for you, and they'll work around to help you.
I gotta think that if there's jealousy and there's envy, something's wrong with your culture. So really, I think maybe the grass looks greener on the other side. But Frederick said it great, and I'm sorry to take your job away for a second.
No, you're doing a much better job than I am, Jeff. Carry on.
No. But he stays away in hopes that he's minimizing the risk for others. That's the mentality.
Yeah.
That shows a culture of caring. And so it shouldn't be, I'm envious, I'm jealous you're there. I should be concerned that you're there and hopefully not infecting everybody else. So, and I should be concerned that you're at home and all alone. So that's a culture of caring.
That's a great attitude, right? And it's a great mindset to move from a loss mindset to a gain mindset. However, I want to, let's think about this in the future. Let's forget about the pandemic. We're going to get out of this at some point. And still in that situation, we're going to have people working at home and working in the office. So,
and is that going to be the new normal?
Oops. Well, oops. No, but also somebody in the chat said, you know, because it is part of culture, and someone said, you know, I think empathy is on the downswing right now. And, you know, if that's the case, then I think you're going to probably see that. Someone else said, we work in a very high trust environment. When that's the case, I think you're going to have less of those jealousies. But leaders, when they're talking about maintaining the culture, we've really got to be careful of now create, you know, we've got all these isms, we've got all these groups, we've got race and gender and sexual orientation and age and, you know, what part of the country you grew up in. And now we've got, are you a work from homer or a work from the officer kind of person? We got to be really careful that we don't set up another minority majority kind of group there. And so one thing that some companies are doing is they're being, because there's a little bit of resentment, not only that you get to work from home, but hey, you're not really pulling your weight. If you're working from home, you're not being as productive. There's all kind of data to show that that is not usually the case. Some organizations are showing exactly those data and showing people the productivity coming from people working from home, from people not working from home, so that at least that's not going to be an issue.
So Richard, you hit on a key word there, that word being trust, that I wanted to get to. Let's talk about that.
Do I get to drink water with that word?
No,
No,
trust
that's not a qualifying word.
but let's talk about the trust factor, because that is obviously a huge issue. And we're hearing story after story after story of managers being concerned that they can't trust their employees, and even employees being concerned that they no longer trust their managers with this whole situation to do what's right. So what do we need to think about in terms of trust right now?
Trust is an issue. It's irrelevant whether it's virtual or it's in person.
Right.
I mean,
exactly.
if you trust someone, you can cheat the system. How many people go into the office? I had a friend that worked for the government and said that there was an employee literally who came in the morning, opened up her book, read until 5 o'clock, and then left. And it was like some novel, some social kind of novel thing. And that's what they did. And they did that like 80% of the time. Maybe one day a week they did some work. So I don't think you can cheat the system in person. You can cheat the system virtually. You can, but it to me, again, goes back down to this idea of value. If you are creating compelling value for your organization, it doesn't matter if it's remote or if it's virtual or you're a homer or what, that is part of the team. Because when you represent, when you see that, especially if the culture is healthy, because I go, hey, if Mike put in this report and it's representing our department and he does a kick-ass job, whether he's working from home or not, I don't care, because this is the best way he's supporting the team, and we got to rally together to do that. So the trust issue is always there for sure, but it's not about trust because, oh, they're virtual, they can cheat more. In fact, I actually think it's harder virtually because you have to be more accountable. And you also, so, you know, if you were sending this, I don't know, I checked my email and it took you 15 minutes. In person, it may actually take you 15 minutes because someone popped in with their coffee to say hi. But virtually, if you say that and that's your accountability, people go, well, why did it take you 15 minutes to check your email? So,
somebody asked me a little while ago, how do we know if they're working or not? And my question was, how did you know before? You know, we really got
exactly what I've been saying, Richard. Did you know before every minute what they were doing? No, of course not.
No, we got to have performance management. And I saw it really well said in something a few weeks ago. It said, stop policing, start trusting. Because organizations are investing a huge amount, some organizations are, huge amount of money, time, effort, and energy into all this technology to make sure that we're, you know, spying on people and that we're looking at all that. Just trust your people. And people say, oh, well, that's a naive way to look at it. Again, it goes back to culture.
Yeah, we've got to be so careful right now, I think, of the words and behaviors that are either potentially eroding trust or building trust. Mr. Tobe, on the topic of trust, what is something that I think, just one tip related to trust with this new reality?
Well, can I tell just a quick story? I'm doing some work right now with a book publishing company, and they've had a 40% turnover since the beginning of COVID, and almost 100% of that has been from headhunters. So it's just an interesting phenomenon when you talk about trust, because all of a sudden I have 40% of my fellow workers, doesn't matter the size of the organization, who I don't even know, right? I've only met them virtually. And so how do you establish that trust? So tips, I think, you know, and I know we've battered it to death, but it's about communication, you know, and it's about staying in touch and keeping people connected, I think.
Yeah.
People show their true stripes all the time. My brother has this great philosophy. He said, I always buy the first drink. And I said, why? He said, because it shows the personality. Do they then take off and go, I got a free drink, or are they gonna reciprocate and buy back? So the idea is, by default, you trust. And if they give you a reason not to, okay, then you act accordingly. But I think coming into a relationship, whether it's work or social or personal, we should come in with a lens of, how do we make this work? How do we trust one another?
Yeah.
In the
You've
chat,
got to
Robert,
give trust to get trust, right?
Yeah, and Robert in the chat says, he quotes Hemingway. He says, the best way to know if you can trust somebody is to trust them.
Perfect.
Yeah. One of the mindset shifts that we need to, and I think some progressive companies have been moving towards this direction for years, but we've got to shift away from this notion of measuring hours, measuring time worked versus output, right? Versus product. All right.
By the way,
so we're talking about.
I love what Christine said. She said, you just got to check on them. You've got to check on them in personal.
Exactly.
Which I assume means person, but I thought it was funny, but maybe it wasn't. Never mind.
So
folks, what are you sharing here?
I am sharing, and this is a very cool thing for those of you looking for fun ideas to engage your virtual remote people. Wheelofnames.com, that's the website. This is a free thing. You put people's names in. There's all sorts of customization options. You can change the speed, the sound, the colors. You can put images in here, so you could turn it into a fun meeting icebreaker game. You could use this as I'm about to use it, and we're going to give away some door prizes in a little bit using this.
Wait, I already won. It's on my name.
All right, no. This is going to be determined. Who's the next person to answer? Actually, let's do this. Who's the sexiest member on the Every Other Wednesday panel?
The Magic 8 Ball. By the way, I just point out for the folks following at home, it's only because he smells nice. It's only because he smells nice. But
Richard,
you're not bad for 85.
Wait, when you hit remove, does it remove Richard?
For those of you who are following along, wait, you guys, important to point this out, that Mr. Jeff Tobe was actually on the Wheel of Fortune long time ago. People have to be at least 50 and up to appreciate this, but we're talking so long ago. Remember when they used to have the carousel of prizes and you used to have to spend the money? That's how long ago he was on.
That's a whole other story. So.
Very, very, very cool.
Thanks for mentioning that, Sunjay.
So, Mike, how do you get more than just the 4 names in there?
That must make me Vanna. You can put in as many names as you want. So Richard, it landed on you. So you're going to be the first to answer this question. Let's just start getting into some really specific tips. How can we make sure the people working remotely, working virtually, still feel included and part of the team? How can we bridge that gap in the hybrid world? What do you got for a tip?
Well, one thing that I heard was from someone named Marlene Sidhu, who works for a company called Bimbo Bakeries. I did not make up the name. That's the real name of the company, Bimbo Bakeries. It's a very respected organization, big bakery company, make bread and other kinds of things, wholesale distributor. Anyway, she goes around, she has a hybrid workforce. She goes around taking notes.
Wait, what kind of workforce?
Hybrid.
Oh, okay.
Workforce. She goes around taking notes of things that happen in the office with permission as she hears conversations. And then when she's talking to the people who are remote, she shares that with them. So that, because this is the kind of thing that would happen in a real thing. Another really cool tip, I'm going to do a second one here. Another really cool tip that I heard was from a guy named Trent Kosarek, who's CEO of a company called Airship. And they have a hybrid environment. And what they do, because they got people in the office, they got people at home, and when they have meetings, sometimes everybody does it by Zoom, even if they're in the office, so that the people who are in the office don't have some different environment from the people who are at home. Everybody is in a little Zoom box, even though they might be in the next office, the next office, the next office, right in the same building. And I thought that was a really brilliant idea. Doesn't do it for everything, but every now and then, everybody just meets from Zoom so that everybody can be on the same playing field.
Very cool. All right. Let's see. Next answer is
you.
Me. So here's one very simple tip. There's a thank you. I should get rid of that annoying noise thing. One CEO of a company, and I forget the company's name, but I thought this was very simple but important. He actually creates, it doesn't have to be high production values. He creates a video every week on Friday and sends it out to all the virtual employees where he updates everybody about what's going on in the office, including personal news. Like Susan just announced her wedding engagement and any interesting tidbits news that has happened in their actual physical location. Very, very effective, and people love it, and he does it every Friday. All right. This is just so much fun. It's just, no, we're going to respin. We're going to respin. Okay, right. Let's just go to Sunjay. Let's pretend it landed on Sunjay. Sunjay, what do you got?
Wow. But first of all, with regards to, so you were talking about the video, I've been part of an organization that it sent out an email every Friday, and they call it Friday Tidings, and they went through who had an anniversary and who joined the organization and who left and who retired and that kind of thing, which is kind of cute. I was recently talking to a group. It's a very simple idea and everyone knows it, but just having a trivia night for people. But you can do, actual trivia. But if you want to make it more engaging, more fun, you do sort of personal office trivia, like who showed up the latest on a virtual meeting the most this week, who, something silly, something funny where we can call people out, but in a fun, kind of cute way. And then what happens is they're saying that over time, when it became sort of a routine, that people would try to strive for a particular award, and especially if it became like a ritual. So simple, easy, low maintenance, no cost. It's just a matter of observing and bringing it back to people.
Very, very cool. Jeff, what do you got?
Well, because I'm coloring outside the lines. Oh, I just wanted to put in a plug. No, one of the things that I've always said is we have to shatter the stereotype of the experience people expect to have. And I think it's never more prevalent than right now. So two things. One of the companies that I know the CEO personally, and it's not a big company. I think they have 30-something employees. But every week he sends them something, just a little something. Sometimes he says he goes to the Target store, and you walk in at Target, they have those $1 bins of things, and he ties it to a funny saying or something. But he said people are actually talking about it and looking forward to receiving whatever it is this week. And they all use them when they do get together on Zoom, they've got them, they play with them, whatever that is. It's that connectivity again. And the other thing I wanted to mention, you're mentioning trivia games, Sanjay. If people are interested, I have what do you call it? Oh my gosh, a Jeopardy game. So if you want to do some training as well, it's kind of fun to do. And you got my email address. If anybody's interested, I'm glad to share it with them. It's just like Jeopardy, and you can have fun with the answers as well.
Very cool. So the manager actually mails stuff physically to the
physically mail stuff to all 35 or 37 employees. Yeah, every single week. And so he's waiting for this thing to be done because he said my postage bills are going up, but still, I think it's a great gesture.
Cool. Richard, what do you got?
Well, another thing that I heard somebody said, look, stop trying to equate virtual with in person. They're not the same. So don't try to make it that way. Acknowledge that they're different and acknowledge that you got to still keep people engaged in the culture, but let's quit trying to, to make it as though it's the same.
Cool. Sunjay.
I was just chatting with someone at a big bank, and what they do is they go for walks together, and they actually have calls, but like a big conference call, and it's not video, it's just audio, but and this is just a lot of organizations do things where they give out Fitbits and try to encourage people to stay in shape and all that stuff. So in a virtual setting, they're just doing conference calls and they have walking buddies.
Very cool. Jeff?
I pass.
You pass? Are you allowed to? Were you allowed to pass on the Wheel of Fortune, buddy?
I'm trained, I think.
Richard, what do you got?
Well, I think the wisest thing that I heard somebody say is, especially if you're in an HR position or if you're an HR professional or if you're the CEO of the company, really in a policy-making position, think about it. 20 years from now when you retire, nobody is going to say, oh, we sure are going to miss them. They came up with the best hybrid remote work policy, WFH policy imaginable. And nobody, if you're out there looking for talent, nobody's going to say, okay, so what's your WFH policy like? They're going to know, what was your culture like? do they care about people? What's it like to work there? So I think we need to, obviously you got to have a WFH policy and all those kinds of HR things are necessary to have in place. But what's even more important is what is the culture? What's the culture of caring? Do we care about our people? Do we make it easy for them to do their work? And do we reward them when they do it well?
Yeah.
Wait, can I come back? Because I've got 115 I can add now. So,
okay.
And what a blatant advertisement. I just clicked on it not knowing that it was your 115, Michael Kerr.
It's my, yes. Well, I wanted people to know. I've had this list for a long time on my website.
You're not going to share
how to
all
build
of them,
trust, communicate, connect, add fun with your hybrid team. So there you go.
You're not going to share all of them, are you, right now?
Yeah, yes, I was actually, Jeff. Here's a fun one that I like is random virtual coffee dates where you connect somebody who's working in the physical office with somebody working remotely. And it's totally random. You put everyone's name into a random name generator, and then you connect with somebody just to bridge that gap. But also, this is a good idea, and I've talked about this before in these meetings, it's a good idea just to build that one team culture, to break down those dreaded silos and connect with people you wouldn't ordinarily connect with. Mm-hmm. Sunjay, what do you got?
I really want to encourage people to look in the chat. There's some great examples in it. Too many to call out individually, but people take a look at the chat.
Okay.
Cool. Well, at the risk of doing a shameful plug, I mean, you guys and we had a conversation last week about this idea of creating a concept to help people do that. And we were throwing out this idea of the virtual culture Olympics, where an organization can bring someone like us in to facilitate just that, like how to bring people together. And we were looking at virtual scavenger hunts and cheers and videos and, a bit of a competition, but getting people engaged. And the purpose of this whole thing was to actually put work aside. And so sometimes the best thing to do is not hide into work, but just to go, no, pause button. We are actually just going to fart around. We're going to be silly. We're only here to have fun. And if you mention work, then it's a 2-minute penalty and you get a timeout.
That's great. And that's so important, Sanjay, right? Because one of the main things people miss about not going into the office is just the social hour, right? So making sure you're intentional about that. Virtual, like you said, Sanjay, trivia games, virtual water cooler conversations, team huddles at the start of the week or the end of the week, and making some of those just social. Or even when you have a virtual meeting, starting the meeting 10 minutes early to have that social time, where for 10 minutes before the agenda starts, you just
that's kind of what we did today when we first all logged on. We just kind of all caught up with each other before getting on with the business. Speaking of social connectivity, Boston Consulting Group said that the most surprising thing in their study of the remote and hybrid, I'm out of water, a workplace since March of this year is the outsized impact that social connectivity has on productivity. In their study, employees who reported satisfaction with social connectivity with their colleagues were 2 to 3 times more likely to have maintained or improved their productivity on collaboration tasks than those who are dissatisfied with their connections. Again, I think it's bigger than most of us thought. We knew it was big, but I think it's bigger than we thought.
Let me share an idea. Just because I passed once, I'm not passing again. So
okay.
Let me share an idea of a friend of mine who was telling me just this past week that her organization has made a competition out of community service. And so to encourage community service, what they've done is they ask people to submit whatever they've done in their community for the previous week or whatever the time period is. I don't know what that is in their organization. And then they're nominated, and then the rest of the group picks the winner of the week, and they get something. But again, it's just a great opportunity to get people motivated, get them doing things that they might not do before, and what a great way to get back to the community. I thought that was a great idea as well.
That's very cool. I love that. And doesn't that speak to an organization's culture?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Anytime you can create that, anytime you can create that healthy competition where people are bettering themselves, whether it be, hey, we're having a step competition, if whoever can do 10,000 steps for 17 weeks in a row, gets a muffin. But when we can do those kind of bring out the human competition factor in a fun way that helps people move personally forward or professionally forward, I think that people are always excited by that.
Very excited. Very excited. Hey, speaking of, we're coming up to the end. We're going to close it out here at 45 minutes to the hour. So I think we should give away a door prize.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Using, wait for it,
The
wheel of names.
Oh,
Now
I have a 1 in 4 chance of winning. I'm excited.
We're going to open this one. Now look at that, ladies and
Look at
gentlemen.
that.
That is everybody who registered for
Wait. You know, back in my college days, if you stared at that and you're in a certain state of mind, that would be interesting. Wow.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to give away not 1, not 2. Yes. We're going to give away 3 door prizes. The door prizes include ebooks from each one of your esteemed panelists here today. So I'm going to give away a copy of the Humor Advantage, Why Some Businesses Are Laughing All the Way to the Bank ebook, and Jeff's got his Coloring Out the Lines, and Richard's got a book
Coloring out the lines?
What is it? Coloring outside the lines.
Rebooting leadership.
Rebooting leadership, and Sunjay with his 40-70-30 principle. No, 10,
Oh, so you're never
10-80-10 principle. It's a great book. All of those are great books. So here we go. The first winner is...
Oh my gosh, I can barely breathe. I'm so excited.
No, but the name will pop up.
How do they know you're not?
Here we go. And the winner
Did we start
is
with Trump?
Eileen.
Why don't we do this?
All right, we're going to remove Eileen's name.
All right, Eileen Tresick.
That's okay. We're giving these away to the first 3. Eileen, congratulations. And the next winner is Jim Katzenberger. Congratulations, Jim. And the next one, we're going to remove Jim's name. Hey, let's here we go. I think we need some funkier sound.
I don't think you're sharing your sound with us, Michael.
Oh, you're not hearing any sound?
No.
Oh.
Just do it for yourself, because you are important.
Okay. Nobody can hear that?
Yeah, now we can.
Barely.
It's the funky music option. And the winner is Derek Tupper. Congratulations, Derek.
Right.
So we have got our 3 winners. You will be receiving those ebooks via this wonderful thing called email. Thank you, everybody. Let me stop sharing my screen. Final thoughts, gentlemen, really quick. What do you got for a final thought? And by the way, everyone, we're going to do this part B in the next every other Wednesday, 2 weeks from now. We're going to
We had so much good stuff we wanted to share with you. And just
so much, so much on this topic. But closing thoughts, gentlemen, let's start with Richard.
Well, I'm just going to repeat what I said before. Nobody's going to really worry about your specific work from home policy. They're going to care, did you care about your people? And did you create an environment and a culture where people could do their best work?
Hear, hear. Jeff.
I think one of the reasons that, again, going back to what I was telling you about headhunters having a heyday out there right now, is because they are, people are looking for organizations that care, Richard. I just have to piggyback on what you said. I think they're looking for organizations that not only care, but, are doing well during these times. So it is all about strengthening your culture right now. If anything else, I think it's a great opportunity to do it.
Yeah, as we've said so many times the last few months on these, culture matters now more than ever, right? We've got to be extra intentional about doubling down on your values, on your culture, on your communication, on your customer service, all that good stuff. Sunjay, what do you got?
Business is all about creating or offering a product or service, creating a compelling value, and charging for it. And what we find time and time again is the more healthy the culture, the easier it is to perform higher quality widgets or a higher quality service, and people are more willing to buy. So it's good for business. Whether you're doing this virtually or in person, the same rules apply. How do you make people feel special, belong, validated, and how do we help them to increase value? So nothing has changed at the highest level. It's only changed in the form in which we do it. Before, we may have been able to go together, walking arm in arm to grab lunch and have a real water cooler talk. Now it's virtual. Now it's through Skype. Now it's through Zoom. Now it's pick up the phone and have a conference call and let's go do let's be walking buddy for the next 20 minutes. All we're doing is walking and not talking about work. Still have to look for those opportunities and keep connecting, keep making people feel special, keep creating compelling value and servicing the world.
Yeah, thank you, Sunjay. Good reminder that the basics matter. And I'll leave you with this kind of motivational-ish thought. Instead of focusing on what isn't working, on what you're missing out on or losing in all of this, focus on the opportunities that this presents itself in terms of new markets. We can connect all over the world, like perhaps we've never thought of connecting before. The opportunities for your employees, the opportunities to actually strengthen and build your culture. I was so heartened to see a survey recently that suggested that 40% of employees said their culture has gotten stronger since the start of the pandemic. So
wow.
Adopt that approach. What is the great stuff that can come out of this? What are the lessons you are learning out of this that you should apply forevermore? And with that,
can I just add to that quickly? Because for us, it's been technology, right? And for a lot of people, even just learning the technology. I want to share quickly. I shared with you guys. And
we got 2 minutes. We got 2 minutes.
I just need to be vulnerable, and that is, I had a group of 65 people from 16 countries, and when I went to take them out of a breakout, I ended the meeting. So even we are vulnerable, and sometimes with technology.
Yeah, it's a big learning curve, Jeff. And I'm going to throw it over to my good friend Richard to close us out here.
Okay, I just wanted to bring up that we've had someone ask, could you give us the names of those 4 books again in the chat for future reference? So I put in Coloring Outside the Lines, The Humor Advantage, The 10-80-10 Principle, and Rebooting Leadership are the 4 books that we mentioned there. So in 2 weeks, what is that? 14 days from today, and today is October the 7th, so that was going to be October the 21st. We will be back for every other Wednesday, and we're going to do leading, except for Michael. That's right, because it is his 85th birthday. No, Michael will not be here, but we will be doing leading in a remote, hybrid, one last drink, workplace. And I also just want to say one last word to remind everyone that we are doing a special culture virtual retreat, January 21st and 22nd, 2021. To find out more information and to register, go to eowednesdayretreat.com. eowednesdayretreat.com. Someone put that in the chat if you would, please. Thanks again. It's been great to see all of you and to have you here. And we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks, every other Wednesday.
Don't cut it off yet.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Stay healthy, stay safe.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.